Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman, Chief Content Officer of the Action Network. I'm smiling. We are live from our Tommy John home studios. That's right. We have stepped up into the big leagues with our friends at Tommy John. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Chad. I was wondering why I look so good and sound so clean. Now I know. Tommy John Studios.
That's right. That's right. Simon, I don't know if you can see the promo I've got framed over my shoulder. Tommy John, great days start with great underwear. It has replaced one of my very special Cubs W flag photos.
I love it because it's so true.
That's right. But listen, we could talk about Tommy John all day.
Yeah.
We finally arrived at week 1 of the NFL season. For those of you who are new here, every week we record 3 episodes of this show. It's live only on the Action Network YouTube channel and in the Action Network app. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where you're going to get our information in the moment. Sometimes these lines move, so you want to check it out. Every Tuesday at 1:30, Simon and I do our betting preview episodes. We go through every game on the slate. We do our foxhole pick, our executive decision pick, our Simon Says pick. Every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, we do our best bets episode. That's where Simon and I narrow down to our top 5 picks for our huge free-to-play $100,000 Pro Football Pick'em contest, which you can sign up for still at favorites.actionnetwork.com. If you're listening to the show and you're not signing up for this contest, it doesn't make sense to me because it's free money to win. All you have to do is enter the picks and enter the contest. We also, on that Thursday, do a round of sharp calls. That's where we get input from the wise guys who listen to the Tuesday show. They might have critiques. They might agree with us. We also do our new Tommy John Big Balls Bet of the Week, our underdog money line parlay, and more. And then on Sunday, 7:30 Eastern, we do our NFL recap show. We talk about how our bets did. We wrap up before kickoff of Sunday Night Football, and we start looking ahead to the lines for the following week. Once again, if you're listening to the show, you should be joining our free favorites podcast, $100,000 Pro Football Pick'em contest presented by Bet365. Totally free to play. 5 picks against the spread every week. We're giving away over $100,000 in cash prizes up for grabs, including a first place prize of $40,000. Sign up. favorites.actionnetwork.com. We know some people had some problems signing up when we started talking about the contest last week. We are nothing if not a truly professional organization. We're hoping we got that fixed. We think we did. If you run into an issue, try again. End of the season, the top 10 finishers get paid. First place is $40,000, second place $10,000. Every single week, a first place finisher is getting $1,000, all for signing up and winning a contest. You're going to be making the bets anyways. You might as well go favorites.actionnetwork.com, enter 5 picks, see if you can win some money. Again, we'll be talking about this contest every week for the next 18 weeks. You are competing against me and Simon. Okay, this is like your chance to compete against us. We know people enjoy that. We know we love the trash talk. Don't get left out. Sign up for your chance at a $40,000 first place prize. Favorites.actionnetwork.com. Before we dive into the week 1 slate, the Favorites is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays. They don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boosts. See why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky, Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. All right. As we did last year, there's a couple of season-long props that we want to make sure we're keeping track of. You guys can still jump in on these. We will track them all season long in the show. Trevor Lawrence, lead the league in passing at 22-1. Max Crosby, DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year, 7-1. Aiden Hutchinson to lead the league in sacks, 14-1. Simon, I'm adding Cooper Kupp, most receiving yards, 30-1.
I thought you'd like that one.
Yeah, you talked about that on Green Dot Daily today. I loved it. I'm going to add that into my list. No more dilly-dally, Simon. We got to talk about a game. And we got to talk about Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, playoff rematch. I want to remind you that this is the moment we were convinced the Ravens were the right side in this playoff game. This was the moment when the Ravens abandoned the run game, reverted back to the habits that cost them in years past, and lost the game. This was the moment when we decided there was no way we could bet against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, even though we liked the Niners and they probably had the better overall team, because no one wins betting against Patrick Mahomes. Simon, please tell the listeners what we are doing in this game.
Yeah, it's good to be back, Chad. Week 1 lines, and what a great game to start with. I mean, come on. NFL gave us a great game here. I know a lot of people thought it would be the Chiefs, Houston, but I love that they're going with the AFC Championship game to start the season off. It's just like two teams that, not that they're new identities, but they're not what they were last year. I think the line reflects that, Chad, right? I mean, this is an 8-point swing. That line was 5 last year in the playoffs. Now it's +3. So clearly there's a lot of movement and a lot of public perception here. And me and Chad are going to overthink this one. If this was 2.5, I bet you me and Chad would like the Chiefs here, because Evan, he's just killed us with that stat that anytime you get Mahomes under a field goal, you take it. It doesn't matter if it's 2.5 or if he's a 3-point dog. Long term, you just bet Mahomes in that exact scenario. On the flip side, me and you talk about it all the time, we bet Lamar as a dog. And I think this year we're going to have many opportunities like this, betting him as a dog, just because they are not as strong as they were last year, right? I think there are more questions across their offensive line and their defensive line. Like, there are question marks there. And now you throw in the losing McDonald to the Seattle Seahawks. It's like, okay, their brilliant defensive coordinator is left now, and he's in Seattle. What's this defense going to look like? Does Kyle Hamilton still have the same freedom? So a lot of unknowns here. Luckily, this couldn't be one of our 5s anyway, right? Because this doesn't fit our contest criteria. Yeah. So I feel luckier, because this would have been a hard decision. Honestly, at 2.5, I might have been convinced to put this one in, Chad. That's how strong I feel about Mahomes and this Chiefs team coming into this season. And that's my question mark for this Ravens team at +3. Come on, we're playing the numbers here. We're playing the odds. We'll take Lamar at that number.
Everything is in our favor to play the Ravens in this spot. We know we hate going against Patrick Mahomes. And for the record, Patrick Mahomes, he's not great as a favorite in his career, but you have to discount the fact that so many of those games when he is playing as a favorite, he is a massive favorite. As a favorite of a field goal, he's actually 11-7 in his career. However, Lamar Jackson, 12-1 in his career as an underdog.
That's insane.
Over the past 3 seasons, 7-0 against the spread as a dog. John Harbaugh. Let's talk about Harbaugh for a second, okay? John Harbaugh, like, this guy is bonkers as a head coach. Can you name the most profitable Week 1 NFL coach in the Action Labs database going back 20 years, Simon?
I remember I thought it was McVay because all those years with golf.
Guy, I just set you up. It's John freaking Harbaugh.
It's Harbaugh, right.
John Harbaugh is so good on extra rest, right? Which is essentially, he's at 10 months of preparation at this point. Ravens 27-8 straight up, 20-13-2 against the spread. If you look just at Week 1, 12-4, has failed to cover just once in the past 8 years. I know it's scary. We're going to be asking you to do so many scary, gross, disgusting things in this show. This is not the show where we're going to tell you, bet the Chiefs, bet the Cowboys, outright, whatever, every single week. This is the show where we tell you who to bet, no matter how ugly it is. Bet the Ravens +3. Giddy up.
Got to do it.
All right. Green Bay and Philly playing in Brazil Friday, the opening Friday game. This is a pro Joe game right now. And it's interesting because the public is on the Packers and the pros are on the Eagles. The game is lined at 2.5, Eagles minus 2.5. I got a lot of stuff like that are applicable here. If you're looking at short dogs to start the season, then you need to think about the fact that from 1 to 5.5 points, underdogs 77, 44 and 3, 64% since 2018. Favorites of, by the way, 1 to 3.5, which both the Ravens and the Packers fit in. They are, 60% the past 20. I'm sorry. They are, the favorites are minus. Basically, they stink. I don't know, Evan. I can't do the math in my head of these stats you put in here. Make it easier for me. They're terrible in September. The favorites of 1 to 3. That's all I'm going to say. What do we think of the Packers here against your team, against a team you think has the best roster in the NFL?
Another game, though, if you could avoid, I'd avoid it. Like, we're talking about a game in Brazil. It's truly, this is a cash grab for the NFL, and it's like too many unknowns to really try to handicap it. It's a 10-hour flight. Like, that's a big deal. These guys are flying all the way down there, and, we talk all the time, like, the craziest part about this game is the Eagles lose a home game here to Green Bay. And these are two teams that we both talk about, Chad. We think these are guys going to be fighting for a playoff spot. So, like, this week 1 game in Brazil might decide playoff seeding. It's a very bizarre scenario. So, to me, like, if you're in a contest, or I know a lot of people already reached out to me, their pick pools, this line locked at 1.5. That's pretty good value. Like, if you want to roll the dice and, take the 1.5 points of value and play this number, you can do it. I think Chad's the right mentality here, saying, like, if this is 3, why would you not take Green Bay with the +3? Like, with all the unknowns, and the Eagles have new coordinators, it's LaFleur as a dog, which Chad even mentioned. Like, LaFleur as a dog, it's been very profitable to us. Even in his Aaron Rodgers years, like, when he's a dog, it's a nice bet to make. So, to me, too many questions. I would, even if you had 1.5, I would honestly avoid this one in the contest, just because, again, it's in Brazil. It's week 1. And there's so many other things going on logistically. I'd rather pass on this one and play on more stable games here in America. So a definite cash grab for the league, and a game that could have huge effects come January. So definitely a great game though, right? A spotlight game on a Friday night. I don't want to complain about that. Like, we have a Thursday, Friday game, because that was always the worst, right, Chad? The 2 days in between the Sunday. But, still, Eagles fans, Green Bay fans that are mad about this game, I totally get it.
The NFL just knows what we need. Matt LaFleur, second most profitable coach against the spread the past 5 years, behind just Dan Campbell. Also in the first 3 weeks of the regular season, so think about this for next week. Matt LaFleur, 13-2 against the spread. So
again, just take the +3. Chad just laid it out for you.
Take the +3 if you can get it. Right now it's a 2.5. For me, this game, like, I don't really want to touch it. I just want to watch it, enjoy it, because I know that the night before I'll need at least 24 hours to recover. All right, now we can get into games that we know we can talk about putting in the contest.
Yeah.
And this first game is it's testing everything about what we believe and what we are seeing right now. Pittsburgh +3 at Atlanta. We love Pittsburgh. We hate Atlanta. We love Mike Tomlin. We don't know anything about the new coach in this environment, Raheem Morris for the Falcons. We don't like Russell Wilson. We don't like Kirk Cousins. But I don't want to bet against Mike Tomlin. Don't forget the short dog in week 1. I just read you the stat, covering at a very consistent rate, 64% since 2018. Short dog. So we got a lot to say about this game, but I want to hear your take. First instinct.
Yeah, the bookmakers I talked to, Chad, this is another pros versus Joes. The pros love Pittsburgh here, and the public are really heavy on Atlanta. And, Chad just talked about all the question marks for the Pittsburgh. This number's bumped back up to 3. It was down to 2.5, but it's just kind of been all in negative, right, Chad? This whole August kind of felt like it's been negative for this Pittsburgh team, where To me, there's no other guy I'd rather back than Tomlin when it's all negative, right? He's the best at just canceling out the noise. So the fact that it's this +3, it's Kirk Cousins' first game coming off a major surgery on his Achilles, going against one of the best pass rush and defenses all of football. It's hard not to like Pittsburgh here at +3, but Chad's right. Like, there's a games across the board that we might like better, but again, if this is Thursday, Chad, and we're going +3.5 with Pittsburgh, that's mighty tempting, my friend. Like, that's really tempting to take that number with this defense. And I know your questions on offense, I think it's going to be light years better than it was last year. Our negative view of them is because their schedule is so brutal down towards the end of the year.
Yes.
This is the fluffy part. Like, these are the games that Pittsburgh desperately needs to win. I know Tomlin knows that. So, to me, I have a lot more questions right now about Atlanta and what they're going to be, right? All these new pieces they add to their defense, all these new systems. Like, I kind of like Pittsburgh, and a sneaky prop play, I'll give out a couple here and there, is Cordell Patterson over rushing yards. Like, we didn't even talk about, they have some injuries right now, the Pittsburgh, to the running back room. Cordell Patterson might be like their number 2 running back in this game, and that's a great revenge spot for him. So
yes.
There's a lot to love with Pittsburgh. I know it's tough to look at people here, but you're forgetting how great of a defense this Pittsburgh team does have.
Look, when TJ Watt is playing, it's an entirely different team. It's an entirely different team straight up. It's an entirely different team against the spread. He's a game wrecker. We've talked about Myles Garrett as sort of being a guy that bookmakers have to account for when talking about the spread and factoring in if he's playing or if he's not playing, and that could be worth half a point to a point. TJ Watt doesn't get the same sort of respect from bookmakers in downgrading the Steelers from a point spread point of view. But there is a psychic effect and there is a real on-field effect to how this team performs in both categories, straight up and against the spread. When he's on and when Mike Tomlin is coaching, you got to take the Steelers. And like, we've kind of talked ourselves into it that they will be one of these 6-7 teams on Thursday. I want to hear what the sharp calls are about. But don't forget, Mike Tomlin, as a dog, most profitable coach, as an underdog the past 20 years. So I know we got a full slate. We have games we really love. This may sneak into it. This will be in the conversation.
Oh, yeah. I'm saying it's not at 2.5, right? But at 3.5, if we get that extra half point in our contest, like, how do we not at least have a discussion?
All right. Jacksonville Jaguars visiting the Miami Dolphins right now at Bet365. The Miami Dolphins are 3-point favorites. Listen, when I started doing the script yesterday, and it's a beautiful day. It's Labor Day, 70 degrees. I'm sitting on the patio, sitting next to my son. He's working on his college essays. We're having like some real good father-son bonding. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm starting to like this game because we don't like the Dolphins at all. We actually are down on the Dolphins quite a bit. I think their defense is going to suffer. I think they're lacking a lot of talent on that side of the ball. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill have not practiced consistently during the preseason. We're not huge fans of Tua. We're in on Trevor Lawrence 22-1 to lead the league in passing yardage. Let me give you a stat. Road underdogs, week 1, 113, 96, and 8 against the spread over the past 20 years. So that's basically covering around 60%. If you break that down further, the majority of teams are covering that. I'm not phrasing this right. Basically, teams that did not make the playoffs that are underdogs, those teams are also 60% against the spread. So I like the Jags here.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, Chad. This was 3.5 for 3 months. And, some news came out that Waddle and Tyreek Hill were a little banged up. So the number dipped down to 3, 2.5 in a couple of books. Now it's settled back into 3, even though those guys have been cleared for practice and they're fully practicing. But how are we not going to like the Jaguars here, right?
We have
to.
The
Jaguars, they do have a when we talked about it when we were doing win totals. Like, they have 2 guys that can get there. Say what you want about the Jaguars and their weakness in the middle of the field, right? Their linebacker position, but they have some good edge rushers. And we're talking about a Miami team that their offensive line is a weak point for this team. Like, if you're spending all that money on your number 1, number 2 receiver and your quarterback, you're going to have to go cheap in other areas. And one of the areas they went cheap is offensive line. So the issue here, Chad, is weather. Like, finally some weather talk, but Miami might have a monsoon for this game. And we made a rule a year ago, and it's been good to us. We do not ever bet Trevor Lawrence when it's downpouring rain. The guy, he fumbles. Like, this is a negative thing. I know Warren Sharp had an amazing article about it, that he is one of the most turnover-heavy quarterbacks when it comes to fumbling. Like, he's just a guy that when the weather is bad, he does have major turnovers. So that to me is like, I was going to make the Simon Says. I'm not going to, just because I don't want you to bet that now. And then me sending out, talking on Thursday or sending a tweet out Saturday being like, okay, the weather is supposed to be terrible. But, to me, if we have good weather, we're catching 3.5 with this Jaguars team, where I have this number at 2. So we're getting either a point of value or a 4.5 of value. I love the Jaguars, especially. We didn't even talk about their offensive side. Like, all their pieces are there offensively. Like, everyone's fully healthy right now on this Jaguars team, where the same can't be said for Miami. It feels like they're, coming in a little banged up into this game. So I'm shocked that this number went back up to 3. I thought it for sure would stay down at 2.5, but I'll take the value. I'll take the 3 on this Jaguars team.
Yeah, look, don't forget the Jags last year, midseason, before Trevor Lawrence got hurt, they were leading the division. That was
Yeah.
going to be their division. And there's a different conversation around the Texans if the Jags win that division and Trevor Lawrence doesn't get hurt. So, yeah, we're going to take the Jags as long as there's not a monsoon. You're right. There are very few absolutes in life, Simon. One, you don't eat sushi that's been sitting out for more than 48 hours. 2, you don't bet Trevor Lawrence in a monsoon.
There you go.
Also, another absolute some people might have, you don't bet on Daniel Jones and the New York Football Giants. Fortunately, that's not one of our absolutes, because we have the Vikings at the Giants. The Giants, 1.5 point home underdogs. This is where we start to ask people to do unpopular things.
Yeah, probably gonna be a contest play, people.
Yes.
You
were so excited about it, I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth.
It's gross. Like, I think the only grosser bet on the board might be the Patriots, like taking their points against Cincy, which we might also do.
Is this going to be an exec decision, a foxhole, as Simon Says right now?
I got Simon Says in mind, but I'm worried you might steal it. So we can come back to it if I have to. But
all right.
Yeah, this my view of this game is simple. Like, we think the Giants are severely undervalued. This is a team that last year with Tommy DeVito got 6 wins. Like, Brian Daboll, the hate's gone too far for this man and this team. Like, of all the teams Daniel Jones has had, this to me is the best team he's had, right? He's got a legit weapon on the outside, which Neighbors, if we're talking about prop bets, you can get him over 55 receiving yards in prop bets. That's amazing. His over receptions right now is 5.5. I think it's plus 130. So this is a guy that in just their preseason game, he played 1/2. He had 4 catches for 50 yards. Like, I feel like they're going to be force feeding him, especially against a terrible secondary like Minnesota has. So there's a lot to love there. And then the biggest one that Chad knows is we're fading Sam Darnold as a row favorite. Like, Chad might hit you with these stats again, but historically, we make good money here betting against Sam Darnold as a road favorite. We always have, we always will, and nothing changes here. Like, at one point, this guy and this team will be severely undervalued, and that's when we'll come back on the other side. Right now, they're a darling to a lot of people. Like, if I open up the Action app, the money, the bets, all of it right now is on Minnesota on the road. Yep. So, yeah, love the Giants here in this spot, Chad. It's definitely a pick where you got to hold your nose and take it.
This feels like a foxhole. Like, the money is on them. The public is on them. This line, by the way, Evan Abrams, our director of research, brilliant director of research, who's a regular part of the show. He notes in the chat that this line was at 1.5 by the Giants for 1.5 point favorites in May. This line actually recently got down to pick, just about. I think it was Vikings -0.5. It's gone back up to Vikings -1.5. I think there's a couple things going on. I think, number one, I think that people have a little bit of anti-bias against the Giants because of what they saw with that team in Hard Knocks during the offseason, and that played heading into the preseason. I think they just don't like the Giants right now. I also think, we have talked about the Vikings. I have made the Vikings my bet for worst record in the NFL this year, 15-1. I think after they play the Giants, they could go on a streak where they don't win another game until 2 months into the year. As an underdog in weeks 1 and 2, dogs of 1 to 6.5 points covers 61% since 2016. That is profitable against the spread every single year the last 8 years. I think we're in the foxhole.
A Tuesday foxhole? Let's do it.
Foxhole. We're in the foxhole. You know what else we're in, Simon? At least I am. Today, I'm in my Tommy John underwear that my wife got me as a gift long before Tommy John was our new sponsor, or I was coming to you live from our Tommy John home studio. That's right. If you don't know, Tommy John is like a second skin to me. It is so comfortable. It is the only underwear I can wear around the house with nothing else on, where my wife and kids don't say, Dad, put something on, because they're so focused on how nice the underwear is. This is the Joe Burrow of underwear. It is cool. It is comfortable. It never lets you down. It's just fantastic. So if you, like Simon and I, like this show, you'll love Tommy John. Today is the last day to get 30% off at Tommy John's big Labor Day sale at TommyJohn.com/favorites. Save 30% at TommyJohn.com/favorites. Guys, I am enthusiastically telling you, I use this product. I love this product. It is fantastic. We had a call with the Tommy John people a couple weeks ago. I love the Tommy John people. They were enthusiastic about our enthusiasm. I want everyone to enjoy themselves some Tommy John. All right. You like how excited I am about this Tommy John, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now we got to talk about something that I'm a little less excited about. Titans at Bears. We've had a couple lines move just this morning. That's how you know we're into the week, is the Titans at the Bears was at 4.5 yesterday when I was doing my notes, at 4 this morning. Now it's at 3.5. Money coming in on the Titans. For the record, I know you and I both bet the Titans at plus 4.5 a while ago. I like it less at 3.5, and if that's the contest, it falls a little bit out of range for me because I think we'll find some better numbers, but I don't hate the Titans here.
Yeah, and jokes on me, I actually bought out of my 4.5 position, Chad, like 2 weeks ago on that Titans team. Because I've come around to Chicago. Like I like this team, and I think it's all about matchups with them. Like if Titans had an incredible run blocking scheme, I'd be on them, because to me that's going to be your team's weakness. Like teams that can run the ball, control the clock, that's going to be the weakness for the Bears, right? Keeping Williams out of a rhythm and then not attacking your secondary. Your secondary is, to me, the best part of your defense. Like you got incredible players at the cornerback position. What does this team want to do? Tennessee wants to push the ball downfield, and they're historically, what we've seen from Will Levis is an inconsistent guy who, he gets flustered. If it's 3rd and 8, instead of trying to get those 8 yards, he's trying to get 15, 20 yards. He's going to fail doing that against this Bears team, Chad. So, I'll wait now. Like, I was going to bet this at 4.5. Maybe the pros will keep hitting this, and I'll get a 3. And, again, I could get sharp calls on this, and maybe I'm totally reading this wrong. But I like the Bears here. Like, to me, this isn't a position to fade them. If you wanted to talk me into maybe fading them in the first half, that, to me, would make more sense, right? I know Caleb Williams says he doesn't get nervous. Yeah, you do. Everyone gets nervous. Even, guys who say they're the coolest, calm dude ever, it's going to be different. He's going to be walking on that field, and how's he not going to feel the weight of the city on him, right? That's going to be an incredible moment for him. It's a dream of his, right? He's going to be running out of that tunnel to be a starting quarterback in this league. So if you want to talk me into taking Tennessee first half, I get it. But full game, even if this is 3.5 or it goes back up to 4, I'm gonna be taking Chicago. I just like this matchup for them. I'm not saying, Chad, they're gonna blow them out here, and Chicago is gonna be the most annoying fan base of Week 1, but I could see them rolling. Like, just defensively, they match up great. Offensively as well, they match up great. Like, they just, I like this a lot for the Chicago team. So, not trying to get too far ahead of it, but if this gets down to 3 and this is 2.5 in contest, Chad, this easily could be the favorite we put in.
You disgust me. Literally since May, you've been telling me, don't get too excited about the Bears. Don't put your
season
big,
long
crazy Bears hat on. We've talked about this game so much. We've talked about the Titans. I take issue with one thing you said. We don't really know what the Titans' run blocking scheme is going to be. I don't take that much away from what we see in 3 preseason games. What I will tell you is that, to me, one of the most interesting, underrated, and potentially important moves in the offseason from a coaching point of view was Brian Callahan, who had been the offensive coordinator for the Bengals, not the play caller, but the offensive coordinator, new head coach for the Tennessee Titans. One of the first hires he made, his father, Bill Callahan. For those that don't know, Bill Callahan is one of the most respected offensive line coaches in the history of the NFL. Everywhere he has gone as an offensive line coach, his teams have dominated the run game, most recently in Cleveland. Remember how often Cleveland was without Nick Chubb and how often their running game continued to dominate? So I do think there are going to be ways that they are going to take advantage of the Bears' weakness as a run defense. I agree with you about their secondary. Their secondary flies to the ball, and they're great. But there are going to be opportunities, and I don't think they're going to want to put the ball in Will Levis's hands. Early in the season in this opportunity at home field against the Bears in Chicago. So I still like the Titans 4.5. I'm not buying out. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
Then you cannot be gloating in here next Tuesday. I don't want to see any gloating by you next Tuesday.
Simon, I don't gloat.
Yeah, right.
Listen, it's my team, but I'm not on the team. What do I get if they win? I don't get anything.
You've just been losing for so long. I don't remember what it's like to win. So I think that might change come next week.
I only tear up every single time I watch Hard Knocks because I see George Halas and I think this was once the greatest franchise in NFL history. All right. Another line that's moving, and it's moved a bit since even yesterday. Carolina at New Orleans. New Orleans was 4.5. We've been hyping up the Carolina Panthers for months on this show. And then you and I, we did a preseason futures version of Convince Me, our show on Sunday mornings live at 11 a.m., Action Network YouTube and in the Action Network app. Me, you, Chris Raybon, Sean Kerner. The Panthers were basically in every segment. Some combination of the Panthers and betting their over win total, whatever it is, was constant. I bet the Panthers at 4.5. I think the Saints are terrible. This is going to be in our contest. Would you like the floor to choose it for any other topical, themed, named bet today?
No, I love this. And I just want the season to start so we can get a good number here. Because this was 5.5, and we talked about it in May. And like you just said, there's some books now showing 3.5, Chad. So this is a pro game. The pros are going to come in on this one. Like, there's so many games across the board. Why would anyone bet this game, right? Like, to me, that's why I love these kind of games where it's just going to be basically pros versus pros. There's some pros that are dug in on the Saints and they think this team could win this division. They're better than people realize. And those other pros like us who we love Carolina. Like, we just, like you said it, we've been talking about, Chris has been talking about it. I know Brandon Anderson's been talking about it. Like, we like the Panthers this year. And this starts right here. Like, money line round robin. People knew, 3 months ago, this was going to be a money line round robin for us. We just love this Panthers team. So looking at the matchups, there are some things the Saints could do to attack this team. Like Chris Olave, if you want to take his prop, his over receiving yards, totally get it. The Panthers might have one of the worst secondaries in all of football. But offensively, I don't know how the Saints are going to be able to stop this Panthers team. I know that sounds weird coming off last year, but
Oh, it
I think
sounds
that
weird as soon as you said that. I'm like,
I know,
no
but
one has said that about the Panthers.
they're going to be different than what people are used to seeing last year. Like last year, they tried to run a traditional standard offense. Where this year, I think we see a lot more 4 wide out, 5 wide out sets, Chad. Like this is going to be a team that's going to spread it out, and they're really going to run a West Coast offense. They're going to just dink and dunk on you and cut you 1,000 times. And to me, this is a team that's still being slept on. Like this number, I have it at 3, so now it's getting more closer to what it should be. But like Chad just said, I'm looking at a book right now. This is still 4.5. So why would you not go get that 4.5 if you can still get it? Like this team is not as bad as people perceive, and I don't think they're going to get blown out in this opening week. Me and Chad might be sitting here with dunce hats next Tuesday for loving this Panthers team so much, but it is week 1. We're not going to react to it. This is a divisional game. These things can get a little wonky, but I do feel very confident, comfortable taking this number. And me and Chad might have to lock in our contest today just so we can get a 4.5 on this Panthers number.
Yeah, we will lock in some picks. They won't be our official picks, but these numbers in the contest, favorites.actionnetwork.com, go sign up. It's so much fun. Simon and I can't win the money, but we still want to beat all of you, and we take a lot of pride in where we are finishing in this contest. We will lock in some games today. I'm just going to say it right now. Panthers are my executive decision.
Wow.
Ba-boom! Look, we talked about
we're heavy on the dogs right now. We got to start finding some favorites here.
It's disgusting. Look, we talked about the trends, the non-playoff dogs in week 1 trend. Yeah. We talked about the short dog in week 1. Division underdogs in week 1 since 2014.
Give it to me.
71%, covering the spread by nearly 5 points per game. Okay?
Yep.
All that is great. All of it supports betting the Panthers, even if we weren't higher on the Panthers. And I do think this might be the best time to get value on the Panthers, because if they do win this week, then that's going to change in the weeks going forward. And now this is where we get to bash Dennis Allen, because we hate Dennis Allen. We think Dennis Allen is a horrible, horrible, horrible coach. We cannot figure out why the Saints hired him, what he has brought to the table to keep his job. Okay? In his coaching career, he's 24-46 straight up, worst among all active head coaches. In 5 years and 70 games of coaching, he is 22 games below 500. The only coaches since 2002 realignment to have 70 games or less under their belt and be 22 games below 500. Dennis Allen, Fritz Shermer, Hugh Jackson, Steve Spagnuolo, and Gus Bradley. As a favorite, Dennis Allen, 8-16-1. That includes 1-7-1 as a favorite in his team's first 4 games of the season. And then there's Derek Carr, who, by the way, is ranked 165th of 166 quarterbacks against the spread, ahead of only Matt Ryan since 2014. This is also a game where I feel like the stakes are huge for us. We have been talking about the Panthers so much. It has to be one of our name brand bets. Executive decision, Carolina Panthers.
Don't overreact like Chad, though. If it's just week 1, I'm going to love the Panthers throughout the season. I think I'm with you. It definitely would hurt and be a little bit embarrassing. I think, to me, my biggest game, especially money-wise, deciding factor, it's going to be that Giants-Vikings game. Like, I have so much invested on the Vikings just being bad. That's the kind of game. They lose that game, their win total might drop to 5, 5.5, 4.5. Like, that's a huge game in that Vikings number.
Well, look, we've identified the foxhole. We've identified the exec decision. We still got a Simon Says. We will, by the way, go over your biggest bets on Thursday. We got, right now, no favorites on our list. Right now, Pittsburgh +3, Jags +3, Giants +1.5, Carolina +4. Okay. Arizona at Buffalo. Buffalo is a 6-point favorite. You love the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I feel like the Cardinals have basically become the public darling for everybody who's following football. They love Kyler Murray. They love Marvin Harrison Jr. They're hopeful this defense is better. We saw some flash of life last year in a couple of big games for them. They have all the stats, all the trends, everything we've talked about fits them. Are we suckers at this point?
I'm definitely worried about them being a public dog, but I've talked to a few bookmakers over the last couple of weeks, and the Bills are one of the most teased teams in all of football. Like the Bills Cincinnati teaser, if one of these legs gets broken, that's gonna be a huge winner for the sports books, because that's one of the most teased games right now. Are those two teams together? People just love the Bengals, obviously, and people still have doubts about Arizona. The biggest doubt is their defense, and it's Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen, he's just like Mahomes. He's not dead. Like you got to put 10 bullets into his head to really kill the guy. Like he just keeps fighting. Even when he loses games, he only loses by a couple points, right? He never gets blown out. That's why, me and you have so much respect for Josh. I think us questioning them here is warranted, though, right? Like they have a lot of moving pieces. They have a new identity. They're going to be a run-first team. Is Josh going to be more selective with his passing? Is he still going to have those red zone turnovers that's kind of plagued his career for so many years now? It's like we have a lot of those questions. With Arizona, there's a lot of reasons why we love them, Chad. Like they're this fun new up-and-coming team with a bunch of young new talent that the Bills didn't reload like this. Like Marvin Harris, he might be that guy. We've seen it time and time again. Like these teams that take these guys high up, when they're talked about being a once-in-a-generation receiver coming out like Jamar Chase, they usually hit. So one other time in all of football is a receiver being taken in the top 5, like Marvin Harris, and it was Jamar Chase. And Jamar Chase with a quarterback that was a number 1 pick, I should say. And what happened? Jamar Chase had like 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns. So the bar has been set very high for Marvin Harris right here. And this is kind of game
Harrison.
where Harrison. If we bet this, Chad, we're kind of betting on him to show up, right? Like that's the only way they can cover and kind of stay in this game is if he shows up. So we're really heavy on the dogs right now. I didn't realize we were so heavy until we started talking here. I do have some favorites coming up. Don't worry, people. But this number was 7.5. The pros have clearly come in. At some books, it's down to 5.5. So if we're still getting 6.5 in contest, that's a pretty good number against a team, the Bills, that we have a lot of question marks. Like it feels like we're always gonna have an opportunity for the back door here with Kyler Murray. Like it's just the Bills' defense isn't what it used to be as well. So you're right. This is a team that back to back going from Carolina to them. These are two teams I really love and have high hopes for. So it's kind of hard not to take this one. I just love this number.
I feel like I'm riding with you on this one. I hear what everybody is saying. There are a couple teams, especially in the NFC West. I think you're high on Seattle, you're high on Arizona. I have not been able to wrap my head around either of those teams yet. But I'm with you. You're my ride or die. So if this ends up in the contest, I'm with you 100%. Pats at Cincy, New England at Cincinnati. Look, Cincinnati, we've been talking about it all offseason, and we've been so hopeful for this team. We've been so hopeful that this is, Joe Burrow ends up being Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite, and that we got the Bengals around 18-1, 20-1 to win the Super Bowl before their odds have shrunk to about 13-1. I do all of a sudden have concerns, like Jamar Chase is just fucking this whole thing up, right? The Bengals finally have Joe Burrow in camp practicing for the first time in years after having so many injuries and missing camp. That leads to a very slow start for this team, and every win is going to count for them in a really hard division. And now Jamar Chase is doing this hold-in where you never know if he's going to show up. We don't know if he's going to practice, and now we don't even know if he's going to play this week. So I am a little bummed right now, and it makes me want to take the Patriots with a veteran quarterback who we kind of trust because it's a big number, but I don't want to do it. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, we probably won't force it in, even though we probably should, because this is like you just said. This is nobody is betting this Patriots team. I think when they announced Brissett was going to be the starter, it dropped to 8 and then quickly went right back up to 9 at most books. So looking at a team that just every week the books are going to need, and we're probably going to get a point or two of value. I'm not going to be a sucker like I was last year with Carolina. Like, I'm not going to just keep betting these teams because, my model has this as a 2-3 points of value, where right here I do. Like, I think this number should be lower, closer to 7.5. It's all the way up to 9. Like, that really is crazy for week one, for a number being this big, especially where, the Patriots, as bad as they might be, we have some questions, right, about Cincinnati. I think you touched on it a little bit. We also have questions about their defense right now. Like, they're not going to be this, juggernaut of a defense either. So that's a lot of points for a defense that seems a little suspect to me. But you're right, Chad. There's other dogs I like better. So as we sit here on Tuesday, we'll be passing on this one for now.
A dog that we like a lot. Indianapolis Colts at home, +2.5, hosting the Houston Texans. I don't know how this one doesn't make it in. I know it. You know it. Division dogs, 71% in week one since 2014. I said that when we were talking about the Panthers. Division home dogs, 25-13 the past 20 years, 9-2 since 2018. Look, we are high on the Colts. We're high on Anthony Richardson. We think he's the real deal. We love Shane Steichen. We love the Colts largely because of what we saw him do with Gardner Minshew in that team last year. Give me the Colts +2.5. Put it in the contest. Let's go.
Simon says.
Simon says. I knew it.
I was worried you were going to take it, Chad.
I knew. Honestly, I knew you wanted this one. We
did.
talked about this game for months, so I knew you wanted this one.
Yeah, we like Houston. What was Houston's weakness last year? It was going on the road. I don't know if that's changed. What was another one of their weaknesses? Playing against the Colts, who played them really tough with Gardner Minshew. Now we have our guy back, Anthony Richardson, which I love how everyone's panicking because he had, a rough go in the preseason. It's just like, it's the preseason. They're trying to work kinks out. It was his first active game in, months since he had been injured. So, I'm excited about this, Chad. I'm hoping it gets the 3. Like, this to me, man, I don't know. Sam, I've talked to 10 bookmakers in the last 2 weeks, Chad. This is the most bet side of any side.
Yeah, it's not getting it. I don't think it's getting to 3 because I think the bookmakers know the second it gets to 3, the wise guys are buying it back.
Again, all books are not created equally. Some books need the pro money on the other side, they got to cut down that liability. That's why I'm hoping they'll, I'll get a couple calls or a couple texts. Hey, we're going to 3 in the next hour. Do you want some of this action? Like, that's literally how I make my living, Chad. They reach out, I play the other side, and we kind of help them weight the books down. So this is going to keep going up. You know how it is, Chad. 90% of the sports bettors have not placed their first bet yet. They will come Friday afternoon. Like, that's literally when the rush starts, Friday into Sunday at 1:00. So, I have faith we might get to 3. I'm taking the 2.5 right now because what Chad just said, we're not the only ones that know all these trends, and the pros will eventually be impatient. Like, they want to lock their money up early in the week. They don't want to be going to the sports books Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Like, this is their kind of time to get the money in. So grabbing it now just in case it does dip down. But we love this game so much. Like, I just, not only do I love the matchups, I just love the idea of no one's giving this Colts team a chance, right? Everyone's kind of them out where it's just, they're not that far away from Houston. Like we already talked about, if Anthony Richardson does take that year 2 step, this kid has all the tools. Like, he is so incredibly gifted. The issue with him is reps. Like, the kid didn't have enough reps in college. He got hurt last year. Like, just not enough reps. So understands people's hesitation here, but I'm hoping they just play the numbers and the trends, what you're just giving out here. It's like these first 2 weeks, I'm very heavy on trends. Week 1 and 2, like there's plenty of trends you'll see next week that are money makers. Like, we bet them long term and we will make money off it. Now, I had a couple people reach out and they're like, well, you told us to blindly bet this divisional home dog in this spot. And I did it last year with the Giants and we lost 40-0 to the Cowboys. Guys, there's no 100% hit rate here, okay? There's always going to be L's. Like, that's just how it is. That's kind of why we call it gambling. Chad just told you it's 70%. So, okay, you have a 29% chance of this not hitting. Take those odds and run with it. It's like, this is such a good number, especially now that we're getting closer to that 3. And we already talked about it. I love 2.5 because 2.5 is such a key number now. We see it time and time again. The extra point is no guaranteed anymore. So, yeah, Simon says 2.5. Give me the Colts.
Yeah, look, people need to remember we look at these trends, and trends are huge in the first 2 weeks of the year. You need to start to see what these teams are like.
You got it, because no one knows
But
what these teams are like, right?
but also, to your point, some of these trends, 54, 58, 60, it still means 4 out of 10 times, 4.5 out of
Yeah.
10 times.
Yeah, that's the
Four,
dream.
you're still losing, but you got to bet it all 10 times in order to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
That's why you do it. So you just said the Colts were Simon Says. I really want to emphasize this right now. The 3 picks that we've said we love that will most certainly end up in the contest, and we haven't gotten to our big balls yet, but we will on Thursday.
Don't worry, I got favorites coming, Chad. Don't you
Colts
worry.
plus 2.5. Panthers plus 4 is the exact decision. The New York Giants plus 1.5. So, reminder, if you think you know more, listen,
we're so back.
We're telegraphing what we're putting in our contest. This is your chance to prove it that you know more than we do. We love it. The favorites contest, the favorites podcast, $100,000 pro football pick'em contest presented by Bet365. It's back. It's free to play. 5 picks against the spread every week. $100K in cash prizes up for grabs, including a first place prize of $40,000. Sign up, favorites.actionnetwork.com. Reminder, we know people had a problem signing up in the first week we were promoting it. Please go try to sign up again. We apologize. Top 10 finishers get paid every single week. The first place finisher gets $1,000. Sign up at favorites.actionnetwork.com. All right. Denver at Seattle. Seattle -6. I don't have a feel for this game. You've liked both teams. I don't need to get ahead of the market on both teams. I feel like you're going to tell me take the Seahawks.
Yeah. I'm not going to try. I'm trying not to overthink this one, Chad. I'm going to take Seahawks here. I know me and you are both down on them just because their offensive line is, 30th, 31st ranked in the league. But the hope is here, when you go against a defense as bad as Denver, that don't matter, right? Denver, I think they are graded as a 29th defense heading into the season. And across the board, offensively, sure, we're excited for Bo. This is a really tough spot to be your first start against the 12th man, and the new head coach is what we think one of the best defensive minds in all of football. So, Mike McDonald comes in here, and it's going to take a year, from what I've read and what I've heard from people that really have to know. It's going to take a year for the Seattle defense to really figure out his defensive scheme. Apparently, it is tough, but they're going to be prepared, and especially for a team like this where Sean Payton's not trying to reinvent the wheel. His offense is incredibly simple for Bo Nix. It's all about how accurate and on time can Bo Nix be. I think with all the disguises the Seahawks will throw at him and all the different looks, they'll be able to rattle this kid. And, that's why this number is so high. I've had a couple people ask about this game because this is another game that's really heavily teased. And I said, I don't mind teasing the Seattle down. I really honestly don't, just because I like this spot for this team against this rookie quarterback on the road. And Evan gave us an amazing stat. This is why I'm not going to make this one of our 5. The books have kind of built it into it, right? I think his stat was basically against the spread, rookie quarterbacks making their first start on the road, they're 12-13 against the spread. Where they struggle is on the money line. They just do not win in these spots. So this to me, Chad, instead of being a contest game, this is a fun teaser game. This is a game I'm definitely going to throw in with teasers. We've already given you a bunch of great dogs with key numbers you can tease. The Panthers one, if it's 4.5, you tease at 6 points. That's 10.5. That's a great teaser number. So same goes with Seattle here. I can't see Seattle losing this home opener at home against a rookie quarterback.
All right, well, at least you gave out a favorite. I have no read on this game. Don't feel strongly about this game. The Raiders at the Chargers. The Chargers are -3. This is one that's interesting to me. You love the Raiders.
I love them.
Pros, you love the Raiders. The pros love the Raiders.
Yeah.
Right now, 71% of the money is on the Raiders.
Damn.
The trends love the Raiders. The division dogs, the short dogs, the non-playoff teams, fading small favorites, all of it loves the Raiders. I'm not a Raiders believer like you are. In fact, I probably have more faith in Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
I don't think this makes our final 5.
No, because the 3.5 is gone. And I did look in our contest. I believe it was 2.5. And I did love the 3.5, but you're right. We have so many other dogs right now. I honestly like them better than this one. But this is the start. Like maybe I can convince you to throw some our money line round robin, because this to me is like, not that this dictates these two teams' seasons, but it feels like it's going to dictate a lot of people's perceptions. And this is another game where it's like, I want to put the Raiders in this one because this wouldn't be the worst thing the Raiders did lose this one, because I would get amazing value on them next week, which is like kind of where I want to take them anyway, because this is a tough spot, right? On the road here,
Yeah.
making this start, even though there should be more Raider fans, right? This is kind of a homecoming for them going back to LA. But like you just said, it's horrible. Like this is going to be a totally new identity. We have no idea what this Chargers team is about to look like. And that's the scary thing, is we're truly betting the unknown, trying to go against it here, Chad. So I'm with you on it. It's like, I'm happy waiting and seeing, especially the fact that, it was 3.5 for 3 months and now it's gone. It's at 3, and I just don't think it's gonna get back to 3.5. So I'm with you. I'll pass on this one.
Why would we put the Raiders in the contest when we can put the Giants or the Panthers or the Cardinals or the Colts or, the Jaguars or the Steelers or anybody else like that? So why risk it with the Raiders when we have so many sure things? Dallas at Cleveland. Cleveland minus 2.5. In my heart, I want to bet the Browns as a short home favorite. The Browns defense was the most dominant home defense in NFL history. The Cowboys offense, one of the most prolific in a generation. I think the Browns QB is suspect. I think the Cowboys coach is suspect. I think we have a full slate to choose from. I feel like all the trends back Dallas, but I think the roster might back, and the situation might back the Browns. Kind of a pass for me.
I love Dallas here. I
Oh my
love
God,
Dallas.
are you fucking kidding me?
I was hoping it was going to get to 3, but I don't think it's going to get there. Yeah, it's just all right. It was fun shitting on Dallas the whole offseason. Like, their owner is a joke. Dak Prescott, the deal didn't get worked out. This dude's playing on a 1-year deal. I get all the hate and everything like that, but if we're talking just on field, Deshaun Watson's played what? 10 games in 4 years, Chad? I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, I don't even know how many games he's played. This guy, he has not played at all. And when you see footage of him, he's just not throwing it right. Like, even when they're practicing against air, which all on rhythm throws, it's supposed to be very simple, his throws are still ugly. Still hitting guys in the feet, still throwing too high. It's like, I've been watching film on him for a month now, just because his injuries to his arm is a big deal. Like, that's a big deal when it's their throwing shoulder. So, I'm with you, Chad. Like, if I can't get you there on Dallas, I totally get it. Just because, again, we are so dog heavy. But Dallas is getting too much hate. Like, Browns defense at home last year was incredible. Does that translate back-to-back seasons? That was kind of an anomaly. Like, that was just pure randomness. That stuff doesn't really carry weight season to season, especially when you look at the quarterbacks they face. Like, this is a great spot for Dak, because we say it all the time, Dak regular season, we love him. Like, Dak in regular season is good to us. He covers for us, especially at home against bad teams. He covers big. Even on the road in these kind of spots, he's not that terrible, especially as a dog. So maybe I'll hit up Evan, try to get some ATS numbers to back it up. But I feel like we bet him usually in this spot, Dak. Like, the hate's gone too far. Like, this should be what it was. This was a pick. And when CD held out, I was like, okay, move it up another 1.5 points. 2.5 points. Like, and Brown's offensive line, Chad just said, they lost their savior on the offensive line. Their best offensive line coach is now in Tennessee. They have injuries all across their offensive line. They're literally placing guys in and out there. So, man, there's a lot of questions about this Browns team. That's why I'm willing to take this 2.5. I just think the hate is carrying over from the summer. It's the futures market, all this stuff, that's all done with. Like, we're talking just this season. I would take Dak here. Maybe late in the season, I would not take Dak in this situation, but right here, I think this is a good number for this Dallas team.
All right, well, look, we got to put 5 in. And right now, we only got 3 games that we really freaking hate. So we might as well add the Cowboys to the list. I don't have a strong opinion on it. I kind of want to pass, but I can be convinced based on what you're saying and your decided expertise here. Washington at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3.5 point favorites in this game. I know there are trends about rookie quarterbacks going on the road, playing in their first game. It's not good, but so many other trends back the Commanders in this spot. The short road underdog, the underdog who was not in the playoffs that is playing on the road as an underdog. I've mentioned all these already. I think the most important thing, and for people who are new to the show, we talk a lot about the luck rankings, which is this formula put together by the Action Analytics team. Sean Kerner, Nick Giffen, Billy Ward, and Nick Giffen has been on the show talking about this. I'm not going to go into detail on the formula. You should go to actionnetwork.com, look for luck rankings, type Action Network luck rankings in your search bar. It'll come up for 2024. All you need to know is that the Bucs were one of the luckiest teams in the NFL last year. The Commanders were one of the most unlucky, about in the bottom 10 of unlucky situations. The delta for this game will be one of the bigger ones we see in week one. That alone makes me want to bet on the Commanders. The Bucs, look, we are fading the Bucs this year. We are taking their under. I know Nick Giffen, he likes them to finish last in the NFC South, if you could find that bet. This is going to have to be on the table, taking the Commanders.
It's fair. Like, it's the same thing with the Miami Jacks. They might be getting by those same storms, and it's like, what am I doing here? Like, that's why, the Jags game I have a better feel for. This one, I feel like a lot of stuff you said, I don't really have a feel for it, where it's just like this this offense for Washington, I don't know what they're about to be. Is this really going to be just the Terry McLaurin show? And it's just Jaden Daniels force feeding him, and I'm happy to sit this one out. Like I did bet this one. I did take Washington. I think they were +4, but I really never thought this would ever be one of our 5. It's just like there's so many other games I like and have a feel for. This one, I really feel like it's a ton of unknown. And Chad just nailed it. It's like I'm so negative and down the Bucs. I might be totally missing on them right now. It's just everything I see, it's not good. Like I already didn't like them from my model, and then I have Nick Giffen coming in and giving me all that luck stuff where it's like it's one of the luckiest teams in all of football last year. That has to regress. So Chad's right. Like I probably would still be on Washington. It's just they're down to +3 at a lot of books now. That's tough to take that number there. So I'll pass on it for now.
All right, 2 more games left. The marquee matchup: Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Rams are visiting the Lions, a playoff rematch. Lions are -3.5. Simon, I'm going to tee you up again. I hope you get this one right. Who is the most profitable quarterback against the spread in week 1 over the past 20 years?
Well, I thought it was Sean McVay. I'm kidding. It's Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, 7-0 against the spread in his opener. 4-0 straight up against the spread with the Rams. 1-2 straight up, 3-0 against the spread with the Lions. Who is the most profitable coach against the spread past 5 years?
I mean, is it not Jim Harbaugh?
Dude, it's Dan Campbell. I already gave you the answer.
You throw too many numbers.
Look, we love the Rams. We love Matthew Stafford. We love Sean McVay. I really want to bet the Lions here.
Me too. I flipped, and I'm so sorry to everyone that listening. Like our diehard fans, they probably bet the Rams with me months ago. I flipped. I just right now, I do love the Rams. I have questions about their offensive line. They have injuries. They're trying to fix it here heading into week 1, and I think Detroit has a pretty damn good D line. Then on top of that, they have a new system here on defense. Like it's going to be a different look for this Rams team defensively, and I think they couldn't be in a worse spot trying to get fixed against this Detroit team. So I wanted to be on the Rams here, and I have flipped on Detroit. They're one of my favorite picks. Obviously, our dream scenario, Chat, is the public to come in or some pros to come in on the Rams, and we can get this at 3. That's why I wouldn't make this Simon Says or anything like that. But if we come back on Thursday and this is a 3, I'm tempted to put it in, brother. Like even at 3.5, I don't hate putting it in our contest as one of our favorites. So I definitely like this Detroit team in this spot.
I love when you and I are mind melding so early in the
Especially week
season.
one. I'm shocked.
Look, it's like, and we went through this in the conference division previews. I've been wanting to find reasons to fade the Rams all off season
Really?
because, yeah, well, it's just like it felt like there was too much hype,
Right.
and
That's
that
true.
the variance on their success is so wide because of the way Dan Campbell coaches. And we saw that in the NFC title game, right? Like they're up by double digits in the first half and they lose the game because Dan Campbell always takes the riskier position as a coach, always makes the riskier decision, even if analytically he's making the right call. When those don't pan out, the consequence is massive. And so I feel like that eventually catches up with you. And so I wanted to, and I felt like there was just too much hype, too much glow for the Lions. But the problem is, it's like a good stock. Their fundamentals are so sound. Their offensive line is so good. Aiden Hutchinson and that defensive line is so good. Just at the line of scrimmage, they are as good as anybody, if not better than anybody, as two units in the NFL. I want to bet him at home. I want to bet Jared Goff. I want to bet on the fundamentals. Like I just like this team. I feel like it's going to be the one favorite that we end up putting into the contest. We still haven't settled on a big balls, and we've already used like the Giants, the Panthers, the Colts as our other bets. So we still have to find a big balls. This could be it on Thursday because I do think it is
Well, Big
somewhat
Balls is
plausible.
for Thursday, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying as
Yeah.
we're thinking about it. Um, but that's interesting. I'm glad we both aligned on the Lions.
Yeah, and
And
it's
also,
if you're a fan of Lions, this is the perfect test. You guys have questions about your secondary? Here comes Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Matthew
yep,
Stafford. It's like this
yep.
is literally the perfect start you could get because you know exactly what this defense is going to be.
All right, look, Jets at Niners. This one's moving around too. A lot of lines
Yeah.
moving this morning, and this one is actually moving in an opposite direction than you and I would think. It was at 3.5. It was at 5.5 in the offseason.
Yep.
Got bet all the way down yesterday to 3.5. Some buyback today. I think because of Trent Williams is what I
Definitely.
would imagine. Um, Go ahead, give your take. I know we both agree on this game, so you sort of share with the listeners where your head is at.
Yeah, and I think listeners already know all my respect for I mean, not Puka Nacua, Trent Williams and how big of a deal he is. The books show it too. They moved the line up by a point. Like this guy's the best left tackle in football. Their line is bad without him. We already talked about it. It's like, it doesn't matter all the miracles you can run a run blocking scheme. You're going to eventually need guys to be able to go and pass pro and make blocks. And if you're losing him against teams number one DNs, that would have been disastrous. So I'm excited for them getting the deal done. Ayuk, I'm happy they got him too because that's a huge deal to this team. At the end of the day, you talk about Trent Williams was the guy. Like they had to get the deal done. They needed him in the building. Is it a little too late? Like this game is in what 5 days, 6 days. So I know they claimed he was me in practice. I've been checking social media since we've been here because I want to see him if he's actually out there in pads while we're doing the show. But haven't seen it yet. But that's a huge deal. Like, what has he been up to? Like this guy who is 36 just missed all these important reps. And you go, well, he's a veteran. He probably wouldn't have been doing that many reps anyway. He would have been doing mental reps. That is a big deal, him not being there. Like Nick Bosa, who we both respect, he said he didn't feel right till the middle of the season. We've heard this from other guys who've sat out camp and then come back. It's just different when you've missed all those reps. So for this game, I think I still like the Jets. Like I could easily bottom my position if I wanted to go on the 49ers at this point. But like, the Jets in this spot, obviously, originally I wanted to be on the 49ers. I'm not going to lie, because I just thought the Jets' love had gone too far. And I was like, this is going to be such a nice spot to buy back on this team. And I think Evan gave us that amazing stat about the Super Bowl hangover. Teams just historically struggle in this week one team from the previous year just because the expectations are that team from that Super Bowl run last year. This ain't that team. Like, even if they have a lot of the same guys back, it's so different, especially starting a new season. They're at the bottom of the mountain right now, looking at the very top. It's like, it's totally different mentality. So I like the Jets. I like him at 4.5. Will this be one of our 5? Maybe. I don't know if I'm like that convinced just because of the Aaron Rodgers factor, right? I think me and you are on the same page with Aaron Rodgers. It's like, I kind of want to wait and see it. Like, I wouldn't mind waiting and see it just because the Aaron Rodgers we all know and love, I mean, we really haven't seen in 3 years. Like, the last time we saw him play for a season, he was bad. And, last year we only got 4 plays. Everything I've seen in camp, he looks smooth and looks like the old Rodgers. Like, he looks ready. I don't know if I want to make it on my 5 because of that, Chad. So I don't know where you're at with that right now, but that would be my biggest hesitation is just Aaron Rodgers against this defense. Because I feel like we know we're going to get from the 49ers. Like, they're at minimum going to put up 20, 21 points. Can Aaron Rodgers get us that 24 points? That to me is the question.
So I agree with everything you've said. I think that if there is an advantage for the Jets, it's because Trent Williams is signing so late in camp.
Yeah.
And don't forget Brandon Ayuk signing so late in camp too. I do think that matters. And look, the Niners will get it right. We are massive Kyle Shanahan.
They're probably going to be my number 1 power rated team in 4 weeks.
But I think it's going to take
they're
them,
unbelievable.
I think we get a little bit of value for a couple of weeks. And I think it's,
I do too.
I do think I think the Jets end up making it. They've got some big balls potential. And for the second year in a row, we're going to have to go into Monday Night Football needing the freaking Jets.
And this might keep going up, though. Like, Rappaport, we just got from Tito. Rappaport just reported Trent's in practice today. So if you want to wait people,
let's wait.
See if it goes up to 5. I've already grabbed the 4.5, so I'm already invested here in the Jets. If you want to wait and see if it keeps going up, let it, because this is going to be another heavily bet team. Like, people have the same questions we do. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers on the road in week 1 after he's not looked himself in a long time. So easily this number could keep going up.
By the way, from Evan, that stat that you just mentioned, Super Bowl hangover, the loser of the Super Bowl since 2000. In week 1, the following season, 10-14 straight up, 5-19 against the spread.
5-19.
5-19, 4-9 against the spread when they are favored by over a field goal. So the Niners, it's not a great trend for the Niners, which is why I feel a little bit, take Aaron Rodgers and the Jets and our history with the Jets and needing the Jets last year to save our opening week. In isolation, this is a spot where you back the Jets.
I love that still in your mind, though. You're still thinking about that last Monday with Zach Wilson.
Dude.
That's hilarious.
I can remember having lunch with a buddy who worked at WWE, and he was leaving Stamford to go back to LA, and he and I had lunch that Monday. And I had to drive down to Stamford, which is about 90 minutes from my house. And all I'm thinking about is that we went 1-3 in the opening week, and I'm feeling sick to my stomach, even though Action had its greatest opening weekend for NFL across every platform ever. And then I got to drive back, and I'm listening to Evan and Gilles Gallant on the wrap-up pod for Monday, and I'm trying to get my head in the game, and all I'm thinking is we need the Jets, and then Aaron Rodgers goes down, and like I wanted to crawl into a hole. But you know what? It all worked out.
You trust them. That's why you trust the numbers, brother.
Trust the numbers. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Once again, make sure, we're talking a lot about the contest because we have so much fun playing it. We want you to play with us. You can compete against us, win cash, money. Just for getting in the game. You got to sign up for free, get in the game. Sign up at favorites.actionnetwork.com. Our issues are solved. We have confirmation. Sign up now. Don't miss week 1 kickoff. Simon and I return with our next episode of The Favorites on the Action Network YouTube page Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, to cover our final NFL week 1 best bets. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us 5 stars, say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Till next time. Love you.